Hello. How are you guys doing? I've been depressed, but I know why. So, I'm trying to act cool because I know why, but it's to do with women's shit, and then it's to do with not getting enough sleep and not eating correctly because, you know, that costs money. And on top of that, then when you don't feel well, it makes you think about everything else that's wrong. So, um, I was gonna start the video off, and I wanted to make a video, and so I thought, well, all right, I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna ask God some keywords, and I had written a keyword down by myself, and then that's when I decided. I'm like, well, I shouldn't say I decided, but I guess I did. But I wrote each, and then I'm like, you know what, God, could you please help me put some keywords down to, put a video together? Because every time I make a video, it's all over the place. So the word each came to me, and then I asked God. And then, but alone was, I actually, it came each alone. And then, here's the words that started popping out every 30 seconds: comparisons, alike, politics, discernment, discerning, either one, wisdom. And then all of a sudden, this is why I think God did help me get the words, because I thought Bible, Solomon. And then I remembered a story, but I don't know what verse or anything. And it was about inviting the poor to dinner. And I remember a story in the Bible about that. And I thought people were getting upset because Jesus invited the poor to the dinner. And, sitting here today, I couldn't remember. And I still don't know because I didn't prepare this video. So I'm just going to go through it as I do it. But I thought people had a problem with inviting the poor. And I could put a little thing in there of my own, but now I forgot it, so I'll keep going. Then after that, I was folding my clothes, and the word guilt came, and all the other things like doubt, guilt, all those things, procrastination, there's these things, Okay, so that's all I can sit and say, because it doesn't come to me unless I get help. Anxiety and problems and things like that. Then I have the word relate, because as I was folding the clothes, I was seeing how we could all relate. And that's really why I do believe in God and the Bible, because a lot of times when people don't feel or have, or I don't know how to say it, but feel like they have a life like others, the thing is, or they say that they don't agree, like, say, for instance, with politics, they don't like to talk politics or religion, and then all of a sudden I say to myself, well, I've had politics in my life, my whole life. I mean, my family was like a political thing. Politics are in our everyday life, in my opinion. There's politics everywhere. It just doesn't have to be with the presidential stuff and all the stuff, like, for instance, that's going on today. Politics is like everywhere. There's families that don't get along, and I believe that people play politics, or if you don't want to use that word, but it would be similar to another word like games. Politics are like games, and people play games, and people play politics. I mean, people do things. People lie to make themselves look better. People lie to get what they need. People do a lot of things. We all also, can relate and are alike. And we could compare, if we're using it for the good, we can, to find out how we relate, we kind of have to compare. Or judge, if you want to say. A lot of people think that we don't have a right to judge, and yes, we do. You do have a right to judge if the guy's going to kill you when he comes in the house, and to tell him where your wife or your husband is or your kids. You have a right to judge right there. To know to tell the robber the truth or not. You have to judge the guy and judge what he's going to do in order for you to make your move. You got to know your enemy. Got to have discernment. You might have to play politics. You're going to have some wisdom. I mean, so all these things can bring us together and makes us a lot alike. Even if our situations are different and somebody's more money than the other and somebody has a better job or whatever. I mean, we're all the same when you strip it all away. We're all the same. We all can relate. We're all alike. We're all alone. We're all each other. We're all the same. And sorry, I had to pause it for a second. So, I really believe that we're all alike in certain ways. Now, which then in turn brings us to be alike. Which then to me says that no one is good. Because the Bible, no one is good except Jesus, okay? So none of us are good. No matter what we have, no matter what job, no matter what we did or anything else, we're not better than anybody else. We're all alike. We're all the same. We're all made the same. The only thing that would make us different is if we think in our minds we are different. And I don't know, I've been seeing these videos on... It's a really, really good thing to watch, but some people might not agree with it, but I see a lot of myself in these people with the videos they're watching. I'm addicted to cigarettes really bad. I'm not going to say I'm addicted to beer because I'm not. I drink beer, but I'm not addicted. I haven't drank beer my whole life. But whatever. People are going to argue with me and say I am. Maybe they'll have a thing out that says if you drink more than 2 beers a day or 2 beers a week that you're an alcoholic. I mean, I don't know what the rules are. I don't know what the law is or the ones that are man-made that people tell you. But I know I am addicted to cigarettes. And I think one time I did hear it's like cocaine or something. That's how bad I'm addicted to them. I really am addicted. So let's compare myself right now to a drug addict. And some of you might say, well, no, you can't do that. Well, yes, I can. Imagine if I didn't have my cigarettes each day and I had no cigarettes. I'm going to be fiending just like them. I'm going to be going out and trying to get that cigarette off the street, a cigarette butt, or anything from anybody's ashtray or anything, or begging or buying it for a quarter or 5 cents. Who knows? That's how bad I'm addicted to cigarettes. I have an addiction problem. I also have an addiction. I used to go down to the casino and play Keno, and I used to gamble, and I haven't, but I played online. You could play online. You don't ever win, but you're addicted because you always feel like you're a fucking loser. You feel like you have a shit life, so then you do shit things. So how can we feel better about ourselves? It definitely doesn't make you feel better when you do smoke, or you do drink, or you do gamble, or you do heroin, or crack, or pills, or anything. It doesn't make you feel better. It just makes you forget about things. So I believe we all are alike. So anyway, it led me into a search. Here's me. Here's how I type into Google. What's the Bible story about Jesus inviting the poor to a dinner? So it pops up. It's the parable. The parable of the Great Banquet. Now, I'm bad with parables. I don't understand the parables. You know, it takes a lot for me to understand things. Now, I've skimmed through this, but I haven't studied it. And I couldn't even tell you the whole story before I even went and found it. It's just something that always stuck out in my mind about why they were so upset to not invite, like, a poor person to a dinner. And I still didn't find it in here why the people didn't want to. Except the closest thing that I did find was, remind me for a second. I may pause it. Alright, the reason that I find in it is, Luke 14, 12 through 15. Luke 14, verse 12 through 15. Then Jesus said to his host, "When you give a luncheon or a dinner, do not invite your friends, your brothers or relatives, or rich neighbors. Your rich neighbors. If you do, they may invite you back, and so you will be repaid. But when you give a banquet, invite the poor, the crippled, the lame, the blind, and you will be blessed. Although they cannot repay you, you will be repaid at the resurrection of the righteous." When one of those at the table with him heard this, he said to Jesus, "Blessed is the man who will eat at the feast in the kingdom of God." Luke 14, 12 through 15. Invite those who can't repay you, Jesus says, for then you have an opportunity to receive a reward from God. Just inviting those of the same or higher social standing is its own reward. Like instant, you know? A lot of the times. You have an opportunity to receive a blessing from God. He tells his host, don't blow it. This prompts one of the pious guests at the table to comment on the Great Banquet. This is the parable of the Great Banquet, voicing a common expectation of Judaism at the time concerning salvation and God's kingdom. So I've been watching these videos the past couple days, and I don't really believe that I'm depressed from watching them, but you do got to be careful sometimes if you're an empath or you're a really sensitive person of what you watch or what you listen to, because it could, you know, get you more depressed or stuff like that. But that does not mean that we shouldn't listen to it. It's just at that time, maybe it isn't what you're ready for or what you need. But even though things aren't what we need right then, I mean, to me, I'm interested in a lot of things to know, like in the future, if something did happen like that, then I can remember in my mind. You know, I didn't close myself off to the people's stories, so then that way, if I ever needed it in my life, you know, I'll remember. So I would really love to read this whole thing. I'm going to pause it for a second. So I had read, I'm going to read it again. Then Jesus said to his host, when you give a luncheon or a dinner, do not invite your friends, your brothers or relatives or rich neighbors. If you do, they may invite you back, and so you will be repaid. But when you give a banquet, invite the poor, the crippled, the lame, the blind, and you will be blessed. Although they cannot repay you, you will be repaid at the resurrection of the righteous. Then it says, verse 15, it says Luke 14, 12 through 24 on this one. So 15. When one of those at the table with him heard this, he said to Jesus, blessed be the man who will eat at the feast in the kingdom of God. 16. Jesus replied, a certain man was preparing a great banquet and invited many guests. At the time of the banquet, he sent a servant to tell those who had been invited, come, for everything is now ready. Verse 18. But they all alike began to make excuses. The first said, I have just bought a field and I must go and see it. Please excuse me. Another said, I have just bought 5 yoke of oxen and I'm on my way to try them out. Please excuse me. Still another said, I just got married, so I can't come. The servant came back and reported this to his master. Then the owner of the house became angry and ordered his servant, go out quickly into the streets and alleys of the town and bring in the poor, the crippled, the blind, and the lame. Sir, the servant said, what you ordered has been done, but there is still room. Then the master told his servant, go out to the roads and country lanes and make them come in, so that my house will be full. I tell you, not one of those men who were invited will get a taste of my banquet. It's easy to become complacent, calloused, careless. In a strange way, the parable Jesus told at the Pharisee table as a way of stirring us and infusing us with God's heart and perspective. Now, this is off, JesusWalk.com. It's a lesson, and you can, type in banquets. Parable of the Great Banquet, Luke 14. Or you could pull the Bible out and read it, Sometimes it's easier online, or I'm not going to read it all, but invite those that can't repay you and stuff like that. And one time somebody did something for me and they said pay it forward, and at that time when I was in such a hard time, I couldn't even think of paying it forward and I got kind of upset about it, because the reason why is I will pay anything forward. That's how I am. I probably could give everything away that I have and have nothing. I will repay it, and I can't repay it in the same way as money, because they sent me $100. I can't repay it in the same way unless I get money one day, but that hasn't happened. But sometimes we get offended by what people say, and so anyway, with this one guy online, it's called Chosen One, CHOSENWON. The guy helps these girls that are down in Detroit, which is just, we're 9 miles from Detroit, but he's up further, which is he's towards Dearborn, and that's a little further, so probably 20 something miles, but maybe more if you take the freeway. But he's helping the women that are on the street. They're selling themselves, they're on drugs and all this stuff. Some of them have gotten better, went to rehab, some of them have not. So a lot of people believe that giving them money they're just going to go buy drugs with, but what they do is sometimes they pay for their hotel and they still buy the drugs. Or he'll sit with them and get their families together or something, and I believe that's just another hour that they're not doing the drugs, which is cool. A lot of times if we could spend time with these people and keep them away from that stuff, but it's a full-time job. So, but inviting a poor person to a meal, it'd be great if you could always invite him to the meal, and you could always just help him pay for it. And I don't know, but anyway, the host has planned the feast based on a number of guests invited and those who have not previously indicated that they would not be present. Once the host determined how many guests have accepted his invitation, then he's able to determine how many animals are to be killed and cooked. Bailey, I'm not sure who Bailey is, but it's something about this website, gives us an idea of the decisions involved. A chicken or 2 would suffice for 2 to 4 guests. A duck would about 5 to 8 guests. A kid for 10 to 15, which I'm confused about that, but anyway. A sheep for 15 to 35 people, or a calf for 35 to 75. In our passage, Jesus is referring to a large feast where the host has invited many guests. So I don't understand that kid thing. So I'm going to look that up, but not to come to a banquet where one has previously indicated acceptance was a great breach of social etiquette. It was an insult to the host. In a society where one's social standing was determined by peer approval, who was invited to whose dinners, this was an act of social insult as well. For a whole series of guests to reject the final summons appears to be a conspiracy to discredit the host. Joel Green, I don't know who these people are yet, but it's just a good story. In this instant, the socially elite of the host community close ranks against him and shame him publicly. Whatever one makes of their excuses, their refusal to join a great dinner is social tragedy. In a social tragedy, the effect of which is the host's defamation. Then it goes on to excuses. They're making excuses, and now I wanted to show you the part. 1 second. Okay. Luke 14, 18 through 20. But they all alike began to make excuses. The first said, I have just bought a field. I must go and see it. Please excuse me. Another said, I have just bought 5 yoke of oxen. I'm on my way to try them out. Please excuse me. Still another said, I just got married, so I can't come. In the story, Jesus tells all the invitees now begin to make excuses. The Greek phrase used, apo mias pantes, means from the first. The rejection was unanimous, but the excuses are lame, and the 3 Jesus mentions are representative of the rest. The first has just bought a field and must inspect it, but surely no one buys a field sight unseen. We already saw it, okay, see? The second had just bought 5 pair of oxen and must try them out, but no one buys 5 pairs of oxen without testing them first. These 2 excuses are flimsy on the surface. Both indicate men of wealth. Purchasing property is a wealthy man's luxury. 5 yoke of oxen are for an estate. 1 or 2 pairs of oxen would be adequate for a small farm. The third excuse, that the guest had just been married, also is lame. When he accepted the invitation, he would have known of his wedding plans. That was the time to politely decline, but to back out at the last minute is an act of calculated rudeness. And then it says bringing the poor and crippled from the streets and stuff like this. And I'm going to read the rest on my own. But I mean, I've had to refuse going to like Christmas or Easter or Thanksgiving because our autistic son had meltdowns and he wasn't comfortable. He has OCD, he has anxiety, he has sleep disorder, ADHD, so much stuff. And you know how it is when you don't get what you need, you're not able to do certain things. And I was worried when I had to refuse of coming somewhere. And I always tried to explain, it's nothing against the person. It was helping the kid get through his anxiety. And I know that we shouldn't back out from things all the time, but the problem was he used to push, he used to shove, he would cry the whole time, he wouldn't sit in his high chair, he wouldn't do anything. And even when we were at the dinner one time, we got yelled at because the kid interrupted again as he was in the other room watching a video as we all ate, because it wouldn't work till you could get the autistic kid to sit at the table. He would get headaches often, and that's exactly what happened. I believe he would get headaches when he got anxiety real bad. So I just wanted to get up and go give him some ibuprofen, and every time you would, it would work. Or you'd have to take some time out. But I felt bad about having to miss sometimes at the holidays. Our autistic son couldn't even go to school for an hour or 2 for the whole first 2 years. He wouldn't even go into a store like Kroger, Meijer, anything like that, grocery. Wouldn't go to the school. You couldn't even get him in the car, even to get to the school. You couldn't even get him out of the house. I mean, there's so many issues that people have, but I do feel that we all can relate, and we all do go through And sometimes my biggest problem is I just wished people would look more into themselves and understand more and be sympathetic to the things that people go through. And that's why when I watch this guy, Chosen One, spelled with an W, even though these girls have addictions to drugs, they still need things. I remember one time helping this girl, and I gave her all my son's clothes that I had been holding on to forever, and she was in a trailer park, and I wanted to help her so much, and next thing you know, maybe 6 months later, she lost the place, and she lost everything in it, and everything I gave her was lost. And I had thought in my mind way back then, like, oh God, I shouldn't have gave it, because I really didn't want to give it away, but I wanted to help her because I did want to give it away. But I mean, there was some little nice things in there, like little Red Wing outfit, like silky thing, and stuff like that. And you know, I never kept anything for myself except like a baby blanket and stuff. I didn't have time to worry about keepsakes or anything like that, because every day was a constant battle, working 24/7 to just get the kid to even do the littlest things. So I feel like I've lost a lot in life, and I know I'm going off the point, but I do have a lot of guilt because I have addictions, and I have thoughts in my mind and things that I shouldn't have done and should, and I don't like it to be that way. I don't like to be held, you know, to other people's standards or beliefs of what they think or not. I don't like to allow my mind to think that way. I just want to be free of that, I guess. I don't want to do what everybody else does, say, or you know, follow those little laws that are not real laws, but they're just the way of life. I don't like to follow all that. I don't believe in it. So, invite the poor to the dinners, help the people you don't even want to, do things, and you'll be rewarded by God. So, I would love to help more and do more, but you know what, in time. But I'm 47, I really haven't had the chance to do it yet, and my life is real complicated and stuff that I probably never will be able to do what I wished I could. So the littlest things that you do mean a lot. Maybe I should just end it there. Thank you for listening. I really don't know what I just did. I still have a lot more studying to do on that, but a story came to me, and some words were coming to me, and I asked God, and then there it led to a Bible story. So, and believe me, I've read so much, my memory is always crap. Ever since I was a kid, it's like I have ADHD. Well, they told me I do, but you know, I can't remember nothing for the life of me. If the end of the world was here, I'd still have to have my phone or my internet to be able to speak it. I'd have to have like the brother Aaron of Moses to remind me, and then once he gave me the key words, it would be able to speak and flow. That's how I am. I don't know how I can ask God to help me have a better memory, because there's always so many things going on that I can't focus or remember. So that's what I have to deal with. So anyway, thank you for listening. It's been good. Thank God for today, and I'm going to have to keep asking him things, but if it's his will, he'll do it. So amen. Love you. Bye-bye.